10 of these players were in the squad that won promotion from the 4th Division in 1979, and they all played their part in winning the 3rd Division Championship last season. Kevin Kilmore, who broke an ankle at Barnsley on Easter Saturday, returns to the squad as substitute. Back two is Gary Little, who's not kicked a ball in the league since he was sent off at Sheffield United way back in December. The following week he broke a leg in a reserve game, but now Little wins a recall because Kevin Drinkle is out with a groin strain. Wrexham have taken only 1 point from their 2 games, so Mel Sutton, the 34-year-old assistant manager, is brought back to add some stability in midfield. Joey Jones is the new Wrexham captain this season, one of 4 Welsh internationals in today's side, which emphasises the extra quality in the opposition that Grimsby now face in the 2nd Division. And now 19-year-old Frank Jones partners his brother in the centre of the defence. Frank almost a carbon copy of Joey in style, even down to those tattoos on his arms. And today's referee is Brian Hill, who was in charge of the game at Mansfield last season that saw Grimsby win promotion to the 2nd Division. So it's Wrexham who get this game underway, playing from right to left in this first half in the dark red shirts and white shorts. Grimsby, of course, in their familiar black and white stripes. Nigel Batch getting an early feel of the ball in the Grimsby goal. Grimsby haven't lost a league game since last February. They've started life in the 2nd Division with 2 draws, whereas Wrexham had a creditable result last Saturday at Chelsea, when they got a 2-2 draw, but lost at home to Cardiff on Tuesday night. Something of a jinx Cardiff have been for Wrexham since they themselves tasted life in the 2nd Division for the first time a couple of seasons ago. Here's Kevin Moore. Bob Mitchell making himself available, and the cross in. A low awkward one testing out Guy Davis, who was telling me before the game that this is his first visit to Blundell Park. Good running by Mitchell, and a fiercely driven cross that the goalkeeper was glad to claim in front of Little. There's Cartwright with the header. Beaten by Little. The final player was Hill, and then Dwyer, but it came for Tony Ford. Little again. Stone playing it in early. It's Bob Cumming putting the goalkeeper under pressure. And Guy Davis was thankful to grasp it at the end. But what a delightful early cross from Stone. The ball perhaps catching on the breeze a little bit as well. That came off Mitchell, who was never present last season. Did a lot of often unappreciated work in midfield, unappreciated perhaps by the spectators, but not by the other Grimsby players. Mitchell again. Here's Stone. A busy start this from Grimsby, who were a little disappointed to open their scoring account here at Bristol. They played Preston here on Tuesday and then finished goalless. Slung forward by Crombie. Little's touch though going straight to Alan Hill. And here's Mick Finter. Striker with a good goal scoring record in 2nd Division football, but this is the man with the real goal scoring statistics, Dixie McNeil. Well, it was arrowing towards that far corner until Batch was able to just get his fingertips to it and push it round. But Dixie McNeil being used just behind the front 2 for Wrexham, and liking to come from that deeper position to get in at goal. Booted away by Cumming. Dwyer's corner. Again, the diversions go on at the near post for Wrexham. Able to to time his approach, and the handling was sure. Really much improved in the season that led Grimsby Town to the 3rd Division Championship. Will settle for the corner. And this will be interesting to see if Grimsby adopt the same sort of manoeuvring on the edge of the penalty area that we saw from them last season. Wigginton, Kevin Moore coming in there again. So it works for Grimsby Town. Tony Ford getting the final touch. Just look at the corner, because it's this work on the edge with the ball guided on by Kevin Moore, I think, but it was Tony Ford who put it in. So with 10 minutes gone, it's Grimsby Town 1, Wrexham 0. Here's Tromby for Grimsby, coming towards Ford. Kevin Moore trying to get up on the far post. Right in there. Still battling to try and get in the shot. Ford might be able to do it. Davis, who's gone down, is relieved to find the effort blocked. But Wrexham, for a second, caught all over the place. And the problems caused by Kevin Moore arriving from a deep position. Little, who never got set really at all. Joey Jones tried to poke it out, and finally, after the miss kick there by Dwyer, it was Ford's shot who was blocked as Davis flung himself to the ground. Edwards this time leaning in front of Wigginton, feeding off the flick. Stone getting a toe in front of Vinter. More room for Vinter now. Not striking the pass at all with enough velocity to send Edwards on his way, and Stone, who doubles as full-back for Grimsby with his work in the post office at nearby Immingham, where his wife is the postmistress. Mitchell. Strength to get away from Sutton. And it was a shooting opportunity born really out of Bob Mitchell's own industry. Bobbled away from him for a moment when he had to battle on to get past Sutton, but it was always slicing wide. This time the free kick goes in Edwards' favour. Cartwright prepared to take on Stone, and going on until it was almost an inevitable foul, really. Batch with the most convincing move off his line. Paradis will play it back in again, but the whistle had gone. The referee presumably adjudging that Batch was impeded. Dwyer trying to change the direction of the attack by bringing in Paradis. Kevin Moore having to adjust. Puts it straight back to Paradis again. Hill. Waters. brought the house down here. Mike Brolly nearly in with a header. With a long clearance but skidded off Frank Jones. Brolly trying to steer it past Davis. Not quite enough power. Sutton. Joe Waters, disappointed not to be in the Republic of Ireland squad that was announced this week for the World Cup tie against Holland. Wrexham working the free kick short. Played in there by Hill. Foul by Vinter. And marking the point of contact from Vinter's elbow. Waters. They will try and slow it down if anyone can. Picking out Brolly. A solid challenge by Edwards that got the ball, but not before he made contact with Brolly. Waters. This time not allowed the time that he wanted. Kevin Moore getting back to take it away from Sutton. And the flag stays down this time with Gary Little. Ford. Away back it. And his second effort flicked off Dwyer for another corner. So they're the men that Wrexham have to look out for. It's a really difficult ploy to counteract this breaking plan. It's entirely in the hands of those three players who goes where. Comes for Little. To Wigginton, caused the distractions, but this time there was some pushing going on. Whistle, greeted with great enthusiasm here at Brundle Park. The loyal support. We've seen Grimsby score their first goal back in the second division at home after their goalless draw with Preston in midweek. It was Tony Ford just going down the tunnel who got it after 10 minutes, and Grimsby good value for the half-time score. Grimsby Town 1, Wrexham 0. The third division championship flag flying proudly beneath the Grimsby Town club flag. And so far so good for Grimsby Town in the second division, leading by 1-0. And in the second half, Wrexham defending the goal to our left. Really with the problem of matching the work rate of Grimsby Town to try and impose their pattern of play on this game. To set the record straight, Grimsby were always renowned as a footballing side in the fourth division. So another free kick to Wrexham, 10 minutes gone in the second half. Trying to retrieve it. Frank Jones out from Wigginton. Waters with a little delicate touch, perhaps a little too delicate from Mitchell as it came back to him. Sutton, and again Wigginton stepping in. Pass poorly directed. Good enterprise here from Dwyer. Skidding in awkwardly at the near post for Batch. Alan Dwyer prepared here to chance his arm. And the driven cross well held by Batch. free kick. It was coming, and it hit the post! Well, a consoling pat from his teammates. Waters, and again Grimsby doing so well in the air. Bob Cumming out off the post. Hill. Cartwright, skillfully done, picking out Carradus. Put to safety by Wigginton. More incision from Wrexham. Carradus put away so well by that little bit of skill from Les Cartwright. Dwyer then with the in-swinging corner. McNeil, a free header on the far post, and Grimsby were led off lightly then. He opted to steer it back across the face of the goal. Dwyer's corner. Neil was backpedaling to get away. He judged it rather better than the defender, but Vinter couldn't turn it in. And it was gratefully volleyed away by Crombie. It's Ford who's penalised. Stone getting there before McNeil. Quite enjoyed that. The show of skill from Brolly. Waters trying to feed off the pass. And Jones hitting the ball just before he got the player. And it's a corner. But Grimsby showing the paces on the break after some shrewd work by Brolly, who is now placing the ball for the corner. And the three men who are the target from this kick. 2-1 for Davis. There's no question that Wrexham know what to expect, but it is so difficult to defend against. And Davis this time having problems. And it's Gary Liddell who goes off. Decision not treated with total support by the crowd, and Kevin Kilmore comes on to pick up his successful league career that was hampered by that broken ankle at Barnsley on Easter Saturday. Just not getting that time and possession that he would like, but Kilmore will take it up and take on Frank Jones. Ford is waiting in the middle, so too is Dwyer. So the substitute making an impact, and again it was Frank Jones who was left struggling for pace, and Dwyer bailing him out. So a pensive George Kerr at the final whistle, I'm sure sharing the relief of the Grimsby supporters. Grimsby Town have their first win back in the second division. They've taken 4 points from their first 3 games. Surely a satisfying start. And the players taking their bow at the end, but a nail biter for them. Wrexham showing so much more enterprise in the second half, but never making the most of it. The goal from Tony Ford after 10 minutes, then the decider. A final score, Grimsby Town 1.
From your hands with the left. Now, how does that come about?
Oh, unusual. No, I just feel comfortable in doing that. I can kick with both feet. Just feel comfortable doing it that way.
Has it always been like that for you?
As far as I know, yeah. I've always kicked like that.
I suppose it's a help when the ball's in your hand that if someone tries to block you on a weaker foot, as that often forwards do.
Yeah, you've got the chance of using your other foot as well.
How do you feel about Grimsby Town's chances in the second division?
Well, these last 3 matches what we've had, we've not played up to the standard we can do, but I think we'll cope the other second division teams.
And it's 18 league games unbeaten now. That's a staggering record these days. What's the secret of it?
Well, I think it's where all the players staying together, and they know what each player does, and stick together.
What's the feeling in the club about playing in the second division, bearing in mind that really less than 2 years ago you were all fourth division players?
Oh, it's a new experience for us all young lads. We've come up together, and it's just a new experience. We'll be looking to improve all the time. It's about our education.
Well, one thing that's worked well for you in all the divisions is this set piece at corners, and it brought the only goal of the game, and we can have a look at it now. What exactly is the role? There's 3 players seem to break from the edge of the penalty area.
Yep. Mickey Bowley, Gary Little starts off the move. Mickey Bowley knocks in a good ball, and the 3 people on the edge break. One for near, one for middle, one for far. I just got up in the middle, didn't quite connect with it properly, and Tony Ford, who's on the far post, dives in bravely and flicks it in. Good header.
Your match commentator is Martin Tyler.
Today is an anniversary for Tony Ford, 5 years to the day since his first appearance in league football as a 16-year-old. His winning goal against Wrexham, the last time our cameras were here, remains the only goal scored by Grimsby at home in the second division this season. To that end, there's a recall today for Kevin Kilmore, Grimsby's most accomplished finisher, and George Kerr perseveres with a reshuffle back 4. Mike Churchman and Phil Crosby are the 2 fullbacks, and Kevin Moore plays alongside centre-half Clive Wigginton. Clive Whitehead is back today in his most natural position, giving width to Bristol City's midfield, this after playing as a central defender at Queen's Park Rangers last Saturday. That was just one of a number of desperate moves to halt the slide that has dropped City to the bottom of the second division, and the first task of Bobby Houghton has been to restore several of this side back to their most effective roles. Remarkably, 9 of these players helped City into the first division 5 years ago, and it was largely his unwillingness to introduce new faces that cost Alan Dix his job last month. So Bobby Houghton, who has experience managing in a European Cup final with Malmo, now faces the first Football League game of his career. Today's referee, Neil Midgley from Salford. So it's Bristol City getting us underway, still looking for their first win in the league this season. This their 9th game. And really the players themselves as baffled as anyone as to why the side has begun so poorly after being relegated from the first division last season. Nigel Batch in the Grimsby goal. Both Grimsby and Bristol City have been sound enough defensively, but it's at the other end of the field that they've been having problems. These 2 sides, in fact, have only scored 7 goals between them in 16 league games. Batch having to come out of his area. Slightly misjudged, perhaps in the wind. It's swirling around a little bit out there, although it's a pleasant sunny afternoon. Judge header was from Alan Hay. Here's Kevin Kilmore. Now Paul Crosby. Drinkle couldn't quite collect. Ray Cashley, the Bristol City goal, and all City supporters might remember that 7 years ago Ray Cashley scored a goal against their side with a massive clearance. Kevin Moore and Kevin Mabbott, and it's Mabbott who gets it for Bristol City. Ritchie trying to turn and might get something here. Here's Whitehead looking to place it. Whitehead, who's certainly not a prolific scorer, but is a player blessed with a delicate touch, and he was trying to use it in a scoring situation then, which he was allowed to go perhaps further than Grimsby would have hoped, and then cutting infield, a little placed effort from Whitehead, well held by Batch. Pushing though this time by Ritchie on Wigginton. Drinkle this time opting to control it himself. Backing off. Another measure there of the improvement that Kevin Drinkle is showing as he matures. He's 20 years old. he is Grimsby Town's hottest property at the moment, I think it would be fair to say, accepting the responsibility himself, bringing a fine save out of Cashley. On for Kilmore by Drinkle. Kilmore going down, and the shot from Drinkle that Cashley couldn't hold. Suddenly Grimsby Town springing back to life again. The final effort from Drinkle, who touched it through initially to Kilmore, who went down under Merrick's tackle. Merrick hooking away the ball only as far as Drinkle, and Cashley needing 2 efforts to hang on to the shot. Hay leading the race with Ford. Waters taking over. Here's Mitchell. Touch from Kilmore. Waters again opting to spread it wide. Having has joined Drinkle in the middle. Comes to Kilmore. Now what a boost that would have been for Grimsby. An injury time at the end of this first half. They switched it from one side of the field to the other, and then Ford got a good angle for his cross. Kilmore beating the goalkeeper, but just beating the post. From Whitehead. So these two sides, who really have had problems in front of goal this season, have failed to hit the target in the first half, but Bristol City have defended with great commitment for their new manager Bobby Houghton, with Jerry Sweeney, their most experienced defender, really a crucial figure for them, particularly in the first 20 minutes. But the man just going off behind him, Kevin Drinkle, a fine first half from him, which gives Grimsby Town hope for the second half. But at half-time at Brundle Park, it's Grimsby Town 0, Bristol City 0. As the Grimsby supporters in the crowd wait for the second half, perhaps wondering what's being said in the Grimsby Town dressing room, we can actually get the theme of that half-time talk from the Grimsby manager, George Kerr.
Well, you know, I think that we've come through this badge patch, as I've said to you, and once again I think you see just exactly what I mean. The difference between the success and failure in the game sometimes is half an inch, and it's this half inch, whether it's in the mind or the speed of reaction, that I think the players have got to overcome. I think they're trying ever so hard to get it, and I'm quite sure by the end of the game that they probably have got 1 or 2 goals. I think the only thing really we've got to feel from the Bristol side is the ball up to Ritchie, and when it comes off our centre-backs it's proven to be a bit of a threat for us at the moment, but you know, we've had a word about it, and I expect the centre-backs to tighten up on them.
So a fairly optimistic George Kerr at half-time. Here is Tom Ritchie. Crosby having to make the long run to keep a ball that was just holding up on perhaps longer than average grass here at Brundle Park. Here's Drinkle. Brought down from behind by Merrick. Grimsby Town today, of course, up against so much First Division experience. Bristol City had 4 seasons up in the top flight. Forward by Tainton. Nicely laid off by Mabbott, who's continued his run. Gow's got forward alongside him. And Ritchie's in the box as well if Mabbott needs help. And perhaps he did. Though he was looking for the more direct route. from Bobby Houghton, and next to him there on the Bristol City bench is Tony Collins, who this week has been linked with rejoining Leeds United, the club he served under Don Reby. But he was quick to tell me before the game that rumours that he'd resigned from Bristol City are untrue. There's Gow, Tainton, now Sweeney. Again, Bristol City playing themselves out of a tight corner. Certainly, in the present plight, Bristol City would be really happy with 1 point. The onus very much in the last half an hour for Grimsby Town to try and come up with the touch of inspiration really that they need to break this bad run in front of goal. Or perhaps just a little piece of luck. Service he was getting from the back. Crosby with another chance, but he's under more pressure this time from Richie. Now Waters. That might hang on the breeze. They've done a better job at the back, Bristol City, of keeping a watch on Kevin Drinkle so far in the second half. Forward slips Hay. Tainton is the back man. Perhaps Grimsby looking to change things with Mike Brolly warming up. Kevin Moore arriving again. He seemed to make more contact with Jeff Merrick, I think it is, than the ball. Bristol City might be advised when this attack breaks down to get the ball out of play as quickly as possible, because Jeff Merrick is down injured in their own penalty area and technically playing Grimsby on the side. It's in from Fitzpatrick. Merrick is on his feet, but really hobbling badly. Forward. Bristol City struggling to reorganise. Forward. Watched now by Tainton and doing beautifully to get it over. Not quite getting the angle as he wanted. Well, this is interesting that George Kerr going to use Mike Brolly, who is a former Bristol City player, but the boos are because the player going off is Kevin Kilmore, who is such a favourite here. But it must be stressed that Kilmore is still really on his way back from having had a broken ankle last Easter. There's Crosby. Churchman, with really only Drinkle as the target then. Now forward, place against Sweeney and Cashley as well. Cashley, who as a fullback, found himself in that sort of position again. He was happy to scurry back to his goal, as Bristol City seemed to take an eternity to clear their lines. Ashley only turned to goalkeeping as a regular profession when he was 17. Suddenly found himself in former pastures and nearly let down by his colleagues. Coming. Sweeney again. And Crosby with no alternative but to put it out. Just a slightly puzzled look on the two Grimsby players' faces. Finding goal scoring so much harder in the environment of the second division. And from Tainton, here's Ritchie, beaten to it by Wigginton. He wants to lead the charge forward himself. Now Waters. Raleigh outside him and Drinkle through the middle. The pass was a poor one and it sold Mike Raleigh short. Waters again. It's a corner via the corner flag, which always offers hope for Grimsby Town, who have kept their tally ticking away over the years with goals from these sort of set pieces. Drinkle! Well, it's a roar that's full of relief from the faithful here at Bundle Park. 10 minutes from the end. Mike Crowley's driven corner. Kevin Drinkle, as he's threatened to do all afternoon, buries it in the corner. So Bristol City, who have, look at the expression on Bobby Houghton's face of disappointment. The side have defended well and played defensively with greater authority in the second half. Played off by Drinkle. Here's Crosby. Swinging it forward, and it's another corner. Coming, and Churchman joining Drinkle now. The header was from Hay and Rogers went down in a collision. Left in a heap. Mr. Midgley plays on. Grimsby really don't make the most of that situation. David Rogers really not knowing where he is. Third or fourth time Jimmy Mann senses perhaps the possibility of getting into the game. This time indicating that he will come on. Certainly damage to his head. It's not the stretcher thankfully, but with 5 minutes of normal time remaining, Jimmy Mann is brought on. So play restarting with a throw. Looks as though Whitehead has dropped that. It's a cover for Rogers. And of course a midfield player. And Grimsby now with the bit between their teeth. Jeff Merrick still hobbling. Raleigh with the corner. Cashley in trouble. Drinkle's shot was blocked, but the goalkeeper nowhere. Broke to Kevin Drinkle from Mike Raleigh's corner. And he was looking to notch a second. Cashley could only palm it down to him, and it was blocked, I think, by Tom Ritchie. Bobby Houghton just heard the news. But it's a suspected broken jaw for Dave Rogers. Meanwhile, Bristol City have a free kick. Touched off for Mann. Here's Tainton. Wigginton getting good distance into the header. Now Waters. Back well by Fitzpatrick, and Mabbott getting in behind Kevin Moore. Bristol City will come no closer, and that really was a cameo of their season so far. Kevin Mabbott, who's waited to the 88th minute before getting a clear side of goal, and he took it beautifully on the chest. Good finisher that he is. The way things are going for the club at the moment, it goes wide. Brolly. Down from Drinkle for Brolly again. He is coming. With the strength to hold off Tainton. And all the power as well. And it was Brolly's header that was scrambled away. And Drinkle who went down as though he was fouled. Bob Cumming really picking away his time past Tainton and then past Sweeney. He was complaining that he was held, but they would have complained if Brolly's header had crossed the line and been ruled out. Pushing and shoving and a little flick of the foot by Kevin Drinkle that was unfair. And it's Brolly. Hay having to dash back to cover Drinkle. Churchman. There's Mitchell. Crosby lending a hand. To attack Tainton. That's four. Well, Bristol City now handicapped in the air at the back without the presence of Dave Rogers, and Tony Ford nearly capitalising on it. Ford's header is the last act of the game. So Grimsby Town get their second victory of the season, and they end the run of 4 games without a goal. The winning goal coming to great roars of relief from Kevin Drinkle just 10 minutes from time. A losing start then for Bobby Houghton. Bristol City staying bottom of the table, still 9 games without a win. Final score then at Bundle Park. It's Grimsby Town 1, Bristol City 0.
What a cracking goal by young Kevin Drinkle. I would have been part of that one myself, and I'm quite sure he must have delighted manager George Kerr. Here he is talking to Martin Tyler.
George, at half-time you promised us a goal or two. You certainly felt that you thought the side would get one, but we were getting towards the end. Did you feel that that winning goal wasn't coming?
No, I think that the game lasts 90 minutes, and we always tell the players here that's a fact, and they've got to keep playing for that 90th minute, and anything can happen, and we were lucky enough to get the goal that won the game.
Before that goal, there was a moment that caused some controversy here amongst your supporters about your substitution. Not so much bringing Mike Brolly on, but the taking off of Kevin Kilmore. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, Kevin's a popular player, but he's had a broken leg recently, and he's struggling to get over it. And whereas he's got his touch now, he's not quite got his match fitness. But Kevin can always score a goal for you. But I thought he had gone as far as I was prepared to let him today. I didn't feel he was going to get the goal. And I felt that the speed of Tony up front would help us with the bringing back into the right midfield position Mickey Brolly. And luckily for Grimsby Town supporters, the manager was proved right once again.
Well, he was proved right particularly because it was Mike Brolly who struck such a lovely ball across for the goal. And
Mike is a superb striker of the ball. It is his main asset, and he's one of the best in the country at it. And from this corner kick, which we've scored many goals from, there's another little beauty to add to the collection. And I thought for a moment the referee had missed it because he was on the extreme right-hand side of the goal, and the players weren't quite sure themselves for a little bit, but Kevin knew perfectly well where it got in. It was the stanchion again that caused a little bit of the controversy.
Similar to the Clive Allen situation.
Yes, something to think about. I think there again for just a minute the referee didn't quite know.
Well, something to think about as well today was the performance of Kevin Drinkle, who now really seems to be maturing as a player. Would that be fair?
Kevin is a 20-year-old boy, really, and great things have always been expected of him, and I feel that this year is going to be his best year. I think he's had a bad patch recently, as the whole side has, 4 weeks in fact, but I felt last week they were coming out of it. I felt after they got the goal today they were out of it, and I hope they can keep it going from now on.
He is a striker who is much admired in football. Is it going to be a problem for Grimsby Town to hang on to him?
Not for 3 years, because he's signed a contract with the club, but I mean, everything's possible in football, isn't it? And this is the joy of the game, and I think Kevin will go on to big things. Whether he goes on to with Grimsby Town or anybody else, I don't really know at this present moment.
But you rate him as having the potential to be a top-flight centre-forward?
Kevin's one of the best headers of a ball in the English game today.
And even after the goal from Kevin Drinkle, you had what looked a pretty gilt-edged opportunity to get an equaliser, which we can show you now.
There was a great little ball in from Alan Hay, really, little left foot. And Kevin made a great turn, did everything right, Kev. Great little turn, got in behind, controlled it magnificently, really. And then looked as if he had relaxed, rolled it past the keeper, and there it rolled past the far post. But that's it, isn't it? If you're at the top of your league, that one rolls inside the post, isn't it?
Do you think now, I mean, obviously you've only been with the players really a matter of hours, but do you sense that you've got a big job to lift their morale after this now 9 games without a win?
Yeah, I mean, that is the problem, isn't it? I mean, it's not a question only of playing ability. I mean, a team that's 18 months ago was competing equally against the top sides in the country. They don't suddenly become unskillful or lose their speed or lose their aggression, but they lose their confidence. And that's the greatest problem, isn't it, to get it back again. And what you need is that chance of Kevin Roberts to go in, because that would have made a real difference for him to equalise. 3 minutes to go. Next week he would have been really buzzing. So we've got to work hard and keep going until we get the breaks, and then build on from there.
Frustration there for Bobby Houghton, but a successful day for Grimsby Town. But it wasn't so...
Commentator is Martin Tyler.